So I was talking to a friend who swore he'd found the perfect RV deal online, cheap, cozy, and ready to roll. But what started as a dream road trip turned into a living nightmare. Tonight we've got 3 terrifying RV horror stories, from van stalkers and roadside traps to scams that run far darker than money. These are the kinds of stories that make you think twice before trusting anyone on the open road. Grab your headphones, and whatever you do, don't fall asleep behind the wheel. The wrong ride, a rental you'll regret forever. So a friend of mine, Jake, told me this after we went camping last fall. He said, "Dude, I don't care how cheap it is. Never rent an RV off Craigslist. Ever." He wasn't joking. Jake had been itching to get away from everything: work, city life, people. So when he saw an ad for a week-long RV rental for only $700, it felt like a sign. The pictures showed a sleek, white Class C RV, clean interior, small kitchen, even cozy bunk beds. Too perfect, really. And at half the normal price, he jumped on it. The guy who listed it, someone named Gary, was short and to the point. RV's clean, solid engine. Send $350 deposit to lock it in. Jake wired it the same day. Pickup was at some sketchy gravel lot outside a small town. You know those places your GPS barely registers. Weeds waist-high, rusting metal everywhere, and a leaning trailer with a sun-bleached motorhome rental sign barely hanging on. Gary was already there, mid-50s maybe, skinny with this jumpy vibe, like he was waiting for someone worse than Jake to show up. He tossed him the keys with a nervous smile and said, "She's out back, ready to roll." Jake asked for a walkthrough. You know, water tank, propane, hookups. Gary just waved him off, muttering, "It's all in the manual. 1 week, drop it here, no extensions." And then the guy peeled off in a dented old truck without looking back. Jake said he should have walked away right then, but he didn't. The RV looked okay from a distance, but up close, dented bumper, scratches down one side, and the inside, man, it smelled, not musty but sour, like burnt chemicals and stale smoke. He found an old burger bag stuffed in a cabinet. The floor was sticky. The faucet spat out brown water for a second before running clear. He almost bailed, but he'd already paid, and he wanted this trip. Jake drove 3 hours into the hills to a remote campground he'd read about online. Just a few scattered RVs, most of them dark and quiet. His spot was backed up to the woods, no one nearby. It was peaceful, silent even. That night, he made a lazy dinner, read the crusty manual, then crashed in the bunk. It was barely a mattress, more like a firm sponge, but exhaustion took over fast. Then, around 3:15 a.m., he woke up. Thud. At first he thought it was a branch. Then came footsteps. Crunching, slow, deliberate, gravel under boots. He froze. Someone was walking around the RV. He crept to the window, pulled the curtain back a sliver, and saw them. 2 men, one tall, heavy build, holding something long and metal. Jake's heart nearly stopped. He slid to the floor just as the door jiggled, then shook harder, metal groaning under the pressure. "Open it," the big one snapped. "We don't have time," hissed the other. "Grab the bag and go." Jake's mind raced. What bag? Then he saw it. Half hidden under the dinette, a black duffel. He swore it hadn't been there earlier. He reached out, unzipped it. Packs of crystal white powder, plastic wrapped, dozens of them. It wasn't just an RV. It was a drug mule. He was just the dumbass behind the wheel. A bang rattled the window above him. Jake nearly screamed. The glass held, but the sound shook the whole rig. "He's not here," the tall one growled. "Tracker says he is," the other replied. Check the back. They moved away. Jake stayed still, barely breathing. He wanted to call for help. His phone was on the counter, but he'd already checked earlier. No signal. Nothing. Eventually, the noise faded. A car door slammed, and an engine roared to life. Gone. For now. Jake bolted into action. Found a blinking green light under the driver's seat. A GPS tracker. Probably how they'd found him. He stuffed his things in a bag, jumped behind the wheel, and tore out of the campground. The gravel road seemed to stretch forever. Every shadow outside the RV made him flinch. Then, on the highway, an hour later, headlights appeared behind him. Bright. Close. Too close. The car wouldn't back off, no matter how fast or slow he went. He took a sharp exit, heart pounding. The car followed. He zigzagged through back roads, trying to shake them. Finally, after a risky turn into a dark neighborhood, the headlights vanished. He didn't stop until he pulled back into that creepy gravel lot. And Gary was there. Smoking, pacing. When he saw Jake, his face went pale, like he'd seen a ghost. "You're back early," he said, stumbling over the words. Jake stormed out, duffel in hand. "What the hell did you put me in? Men came after me. There was a tracker." Gary raised his hands, eyes darting toward the bag. "I don't know what's in there, man. I don't ask questions. I just rent the rigs. I'll refund you. Please, just leave it." Jake tossed the bag into the RV, grabbed the cash, and drove off. Shaking, mind racing. He didn't sleep for days. Every knock at the door, every crunch outside his apartment window made him jump. Then, a week later, it hit the news. Local police had busted a major drug ring, meth distribution. Multiple RVs used for transport, some stolen. The anniversary scam. We paid for a dream, got a nightmare. So I was talking to my uncle one night, and he said something I'll never forget. If the deal looks perfect, it's probably setting you up for the opposite. I didn't understand what he meant back then. I do now. My wife and I had been planning something special. Our 44th wedding anniversary. No parties, no crowds. Just the two of us, coasting down the Pacific Coast Highway in a luxury RV, like a second honeymoon with ocean views and open skies. We imagined Pismo Beach, beachside bonfires, and waking up to the sound of crashing waves. We wanted something big, clean, with all the bells and whistles. I searched listings for weeks until I found it, a gorgeous 40-foot Class A motorhome that looked like it had just rolled off the lot. White exterior, gleaming chrome, spotless leather interior, a kitchen that belonged in a condo, and a queen bed tucked into a warm, cozy bedroom. The price? $800 for 4 days, $500 deposit up front. Too good to be true? The owner, Rich, was friendly. His messages had that casual but personal charm that made you trust him. He even mentioned taking that very RV on a trip with his wife for their anniversary last year. He included pictures of the RV, parked by a coastal cliff, the two of them smiling in the sun, holding hands. I showed my wife. She smiled, teared up a little even. "That's going to be us," she said softly. We asked to see the RV in person. Rich replied, "Wish I could, but I'm out of state on contract work. Can send more pictures or a video walkthrough, though." He added, "If you want to lock the dates, just send the $500 deposit through PayPal. Friends and family to avoid fees." I hesitated. My gut flickered, but everything felt real. He even joked about how annoying service fees were. The pictures looked great. His tone felt honest. I clicked, send. My wife clapped. "Pismo Beach, here we come." A week later, another message. "Hey, I hate to ask, but my wife's in the hospital. Emergency surgery. Could you send the full $800 now? I'll make sure the RV is ready and spotless. You guys are amazing. The story punched me in the chest. I mean, who lies about something like that? Still, my hands were sweaty as I called his number. He picked up on the third ring, voice raspy, low. Hey, sorry I didn't respond earlier. Long night. Linda's surgery is tomorrow. Hospital needs upfront payments. I wouldn't ask if I wasn't desperate. He sounded wrecked, and I wanted to believe him. My wife nodded slowly beside me, listening on speaker. He sounds like he's going through hell. I caved, sent the rest. That same night, I couldn't sleep. Something about the whole thing stuck in my ribs. Then, my mouth went dry. I read the message twice. Then again. Alone? From a stranger? No way, I muttered. This is nuts. My wife agreed. Her face had gone pale. We need to check him out, she said. I started with the business address he'd given. He called it Sierra Coastal Rentals, located in a nearby city. I opened Google Maps. Expected to see a small office, maybe a lot with RVs. Instead, it was a pizza joint, neon lit, dusty. Nothing to do with motorhomes. I called him instantly. Hey, why's your RV business located at a pizza place? He laughed, too quickly. Oh, that? It's just a safety measure. People have broken into my house before, so I used the shop's address for mail and contracts. Nothing shady. His voice was smooth, but I could feel it now, that subtle twist in his tone. Something rehearsed, something off. I did a deep dive on him. No website, no reviews, no business name registered, no social media, nothing. He didn't exist. 2 weeks out from our trip, I texted him, just checking in. When can we pick up the RV? No reply. I called, straight to voicemail, emailed again, silence. Every unanswered message made my stomach turn. My wife sat across from me, eyes red. Did we just lose it all? She whispered. That night, unable to sleep, I sat in the kitchen and searched. RV rental scams. Article after article popped up. Fake owners, tragic backstories, listings that disappeared. People sending money through untraceable methods. I found one story, nearly identical. An elderly couple, a gorgeous Dutchman RV. The scammer used a sob story, just like Rich. My heart dropped. We'd been conned. We reported it to the bank. They opened a case, but warned us. Friends and family payments meant no buyer protection. It might take weeks, maybe more. We were out $1,300. Our anniversary was in 7 days. Desperate, we called every rental company in a 100-mile radius. One finally had a last-minute opening. A smaller RV, not nearly as luxurious, and double the price. $1,600 for 4 days. We paid with a credit card. We made sure the company had reviews, photos, a real office. We weren't getting burned twice. The trip went ahead, technically, but it didn't feel like it should have. The magic was dulled. Every gas stop, every quiet night by the coast, I wondered where Rich was, who else he was scamming. I could feel my wife's hand in mine, but we both knew the scar was already there. Trust is hard to rebuild once it's been gutted like that. A few weeks later, the bank refunded our money, declared it fraud. Relief came, but it was... The open road isn't what it used to be. Freedom used to mean escape. Now, it feels like another place where monsters can hide behind kind words and perfect pictures. The van was never just for me. A friend of mine, Jake, told me this after he came back from a solo trip into the mountains last fall. He said it changed him, made him rethink freedom, trust, and just how alone you can feel, even with steel walls around you. Jake had been saving up for months. He needed a break from work, from the city noise, from everyone. His plan? A solo road trip in a camper van through winding mountain roads and quiet forest trails. The kind of trip where you sleep under stars, breathe crisp air, and wake up to the scent of pine. Big rental companies were out of his budget, so he scoured the online classifieds and Facebook groups for a good deal. That's where he found her, Emily. Her ad listed a Class B camper van for less than half the usual rate. The pictures looked clean, the layout was perfect for one person, and the reviews, though few, were positive enough. When Jake messaged her, she replied almost instantly. "It's a sweet little van," she wrote. "Perfect for someone looking to get off the grid. I can have it ready tomorrow." They agreed to meet in a gravel lot on the edge of a small, sleepy town that barely showed up on Google Maps. She looked tired, mid-30s maybe, hair in a messy bun, sleeves rolled up. The van was older than the photos made it seem. The paint was faded, the bumper dented, but inside it was tidy, not spotless, but lived in a comforting sort of way. She showed him how to use the stove, refill the water tank, and fold down the bed. Then she pointed to the side door. "This one's tricky. Sticky lock. Push hard when you shut it." Then she reached into a cabinet, pulled out a bright orange air horn, and placed it on the counter. Good to have. For animals. Or people. Jake laughed awkwardly. She didn't. Just smiled thinly. He signed the paperwork, handed over the cash, and hit the road. The first day was everything he'd imagined. Mountains rolled by. He blasted his road trip playlist, stopped for photos of sweeping cliffs and mirror-still lakes, and even found a quiet trail for a hike before settling in at a nearly empty campground nestled in a forested valley. He parked beneath a cluster of tall trees. No other vans nearby, just faint lights in the distance from a few scattered RVs. He made pasta on the tiny stove, locked up, especially the sticky door, and curled up with a paperback. That's when things started feeling off. It was around 10 p.m. when he heard it. Voices, low, male, muffled like they were trying not to be heard. He froze, book slipping from his hands. Gravel crunched outside, slow and methodical, like someone circling the van. His reading light suddenly felt blinding, so he switched. Jake didn't respond, didn't breathe. Knock. "Come on, miss. Open up. We just need to talk." "Miss." They knew he was alone. The handle jiggled. Jake stumbled backward and reached for the air horn, knocking it off the counter. The clatter must have startled them, because for a moment, everything went silent. Then, "Try the back." Another voice, lower, more impatient. Jake's chest tightened. The doors, he'd locked them all, hadn't he? As the van began to shake from their efforts, he pressed the air horn's button. Blart! The sound split the night open like a flare. One of the men shouted, and then, footsteps, running, away, into the trees. Jake didn't move for the rest of the night, just sat there in the dark, clutching the horn, ears ringing, waiting, listening. At sunrise, he opened the door with shaking hands. The side panel near the lock had deep gouges, like someone had tried to pry it open with a blade or screwdriver. Worse, his front tire had been slashed. The van sagged forward like it had given up, too. No phone signal, no help. He swapped in the spare and limped the van into a small town an hour away. At a gas station payphone, he called Emily. "Someone tried to break in last night," he said. "They slashed the tire." She paused for a second too long. "That's awful. Campgrounds can be sketchy. RVs are easy targets. Get it fixed, and maybe stick to busier areas." Then she hung up. Her voice didn't sound surprised, not worried, almost rehearsed. At a mechanic's shop, Jake showed them the damage. Yikes, the guy said. Someone wanted in bad. While waiting, Jake went to a nearby truck stop for coffee. That's where he saw him, a man leaning against a black sedan, dark jacket, staring directly at Jake. Not casually, intently, like he already knew him. Jake tried to ignore it, walked back to the van. But when he pulled out of the lot, the sedan followed. It stayed behind him for miles, never close enough to spook him outright, never far enough to be coincidence. Every turn he took, the car followed. He finally pulled into a crowded rest stop, hoping it'd move on. It didn't. The sedan parked across the lot, engine still running. Jake locked every door and waited. 10 minutes later, the car pulled out, left. He stepped outside, shaken, to stretch his legs. That's when he found the note under his windshield wiper. Nice van, shame if something happened to it out here. His knees went weak. He scanned the parking lot, empty now. But he felt it, that pressure of eyes just out of reach. He drove to the nearest police station, the note balled up in his fist. An older officer listened quietly, eyes narrowed. "Sounds scary," he said, "but without a plate number or name, we can't do much. Stay in well-lit areas, lock your doors. Here's a pamphlet on RV safety." Jake stared at the trifold flyer like it was a joke. That night, he booked a spot at a full RV park. Security cameras, families, floodlights. But he didn't sleep. Every whisper of wind, every voice from a nearby camper, every twig snap had him clutching that air horn again. The next day, he called Emily. "I'm done. I'm bringing the van back." She didn't fight him, just said, "Bring it before sundown." When he handed her the keys, she glanced at the scratches and shrugged. "Happens more than you think. These private rentals, you roll the dice." She counted out his deposit like nothing had happened. Jake drove home in silence. Back in his apartment, he started researching. The deeper he dug, the worse it got. There were forums, threads full of people who'd rented vans or RVs through sketchy private listings. Some told stories of being followed, others of GPS trackers hidden in the walls. Some, like Jake, talked about helpful owners who handed over safety tools like bear spray or air horns, just in case. It wasn't just a rental, it was a setup. Whether Emily was in on it, or just bait for someone else's trap, Jake couldn't prove. But what mattered was the truth. He wasn't alone out there. Not the way he thought. Now, he only rents from verified companies, double-checks locks, stays close to others. No more mountain valleys, no more gravel lots. But every now and then, he dreams of gravel crunching. He wakes up, sweating, convinced someone's outside, whispering, waiting. He never did throw out that note. He keeps it in his glove box, folded like a warning. A reminder that not all horror stories start with ghosts. Some begin with a smile, and a deal too good to be true.